Let me tell you a little bit about myself, in case you don't know me that well. I'm Dave Lane. I have a degree in physics, a master's in IT security, and since 2006, for the last 20 odd years, I've helped businesses to use IT more effectively. That's my passion, helping people to kind of really get to grips with new technology, whether it's learning what email is or how to print or artificial intelligence, or nowadays really looking at how businesses use IT more effectively. So if you're a business owner or a business leader, CIO, CTO, there's that space that sits between the owners and the leadership of the business, depending on the business size, the directors, and technology. And the problem is that often there's a big gulf. And my job really nowadays is to fill that strategy space. IT is not just like my printer doesn't work, I can't send emails. IT really is a tool to make your business more successful. And there's clear evidence if you can adopt technology earlier, the business is more profitable. But a lot of business owners, they don't really understand technology, they don't really get it, and they're not able to effectively use it to grow their business. And that's where strategy comes in. What can we do? Well, basically, have a series of meetings and have a strategy plan over the next 18 months to 2 years that kind of lays out the broad strokes of what we want to do. Because often if IT is not aligned to the business, then you get budgeting issues, you get problems with technology not performing, underperforming, and you get problems where people are being employed to do a job where technology could do it 1,000 times cheaper. And this is key for anyone watching this video. One thing to remember, technology is at least 10 times cheaper than people. It doesn't mean that you don't need people, because you definitely do. And in my last set of videos, I talked about artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is great, but it's not that intelligent. So there's certain bits that humans are absolutely definitely going to need to be doing in the future. So if you want to grow your business and to scale and be successful, you need to be using technology to make the business grow, and not just be thinking about what computer should I buy, I don't like technology, I can't print, getting frustrated. What's the plan? What's it going to look like? What's the big picture? What technologies and systems do we need to put in place? What systems need to be refreshed because they're coming up to end of life? What kind of the budget need to look at? What's the risks to the business? What's the opportunity? And that's really what the whole point of strategy is. And if your IT is not delivering that function, get in touch with me. I can definitely help fill that gap. So I've been doing IT support for businesses since about the year 2000, and it seems really strange that I've gone from like sitting in the lab to going, oh, I see you're using electronic mail, to really kind of getting to grips with businesses and really helping them to use technology more effectively. And my passion is to help businesses use technology to be more effective. And individuals, not just businesses as some kind of cloud, but like people, people like you and me. So a lot of time is spent fixing basic problems like I can't print, my emails are not working. And the same things come up time and time again. People say, oh, IT support's slow, take ages to get back to me, it's hard to get hold of somebody, they seem to keep having the same problem. And often the experience nowadays is because of a factor that we're really moving now towards this idea that there are kind of there's three kind of support services. There's the stuff where the users fix it themselves. So we have training on that. We have videos, articles, knowledge-based articles. We don't really want people Googling it ideally, because you never know if what they're finding makes sense, but it could work. And then we've got the day-to-day things that are broken. Unfortunately, things do break in IT, so they need to be fixed. But really the other big area is that we've got all our tools and systems now, so everything's kind of set up in a way that's optimized and automated. So that really cuts down on the amount of time you spend on the first two areas, because we don't need to fix things that keep breaking, because if things are set up and done the right way in the first place, we don't need to keep twiddling, and there's less problems for the user. But that does mean that we speak to people less. So when we take on customers and people start at an organization, we want to spend a lot of time with them, talking to them, explaining about our tools, our training university, how we work, how we can help them. And we don't just want to speak to people about that they can't print, or their email's not working, or they're getting frustrated with their computer. We want to talk to people about how they can use IT more effectively. So maybe you've got a line of business application that needs some tweaking, or it's not been implemented fully, or maybe people could learn to use Excel better. So all these kind of things are really looking at how we can use technology to make your business more effective and more efficient, but also get people working again when they have a problem as quickly as possible. So obviously we've got our help desk system, we've got our portal that has all this training and all this stuff. You can log support requests, and we're kind of moving to the point now where the amount of requests that people are making is going down, but a lot of our time is spent on strategy, which we talked about before, and on IT security. IT security is a huge thing for us, not so much maybe for you over there, but it's something you really need to understand. It's a massive risk to the business. It's growing 300% year on year. The problem didn't really exist 10, 15 years ago. I did my master's degree in IT security way back when, and when I did that, people, especially small businesses, they really weren't interested, but now it's really front of mind. A vast amount of my time is spent looking at strategy around IT security, systems and processes. And a lot of people are very confused about what we're doing because they go, but shouldn't you be fixing my printers or my emails? It's like, no, we need to make sure your business doesn't go bust because of a cybersecurity incident. And that's a management issue, that's not an IT issue. A big thing is this baseline. We used to just, and I'm sure you've kind of seen this, especially in a small business, you go to PC World or whatever, you buy a computer, plug it in, off you go, maybe set up some antivirus. That just doesn't cut it in 2023. That's not acceptable. Instead, what we do is have baseline configuration management. Now, if you ever got an airplane, you'll know that you may know that pilots have checklists, aircrew have checklists, the people that do maintenance on the aeroplane, they have checklists, and everything goes A, B, C, D. Not because the people are stupid, it's because you can't afford to make mistakes or the planes will fall out of the sky. So we're moving to this baseline configuration management. When we go to computer, we just install straight Windows, don't have any gumph that comes from the manufacturer on it. Then we load up our tools, which automatically get loaded. We have a baseline configuration. When we set up Office 365 for you, we have a baseline security configuration. And then we find there's things that we can do to improve it. We have a checklist and we go through each of the customers checking those things. This is a very long way from the past way of like people just ringing up and saying, oh, I can't print, I've got a problem with my email, my computer's a bit slow or whatever. Or saying, oh, we'll buy this piece of cybersecurity software and that'll fix cyber. That's not what's happening. 2-3 years ago, the business was very different. And it's very important to people to understand that if you're not doing those things as a business leader, if you're not managing that risk, looking at making sure you meet at least baselines, like basic stuff like cyber essentials, you really got to meet that standard nowadays. And a lot of businesses, it's just over their heads. They don't understand the risk and they only start doing something about it when they're either too late and they've lost the business, or they have an incident and they lose 10, 20, 50, 100,000, $250,000 I saw last year, pounds, dollars, euros, whatever. So don't think for 1 minute cybersecurity isn't something that is a management issue, it isn't something that you need to have on your radar. There are a lot of industries now where you have to meet the standards, or you can't bid on government contracts unless you meet the standards. I talked before about this idea of documentation culture. You create a place to create documentation, you try and encourage everyone in your team to do it. And then you've got this idea of like the McDonald's step-by-step instructions, or flying an aeroplane or maintaining an aeroplane, you have a checklist. There's something else that I didn't mention in those videos, and that's Dave's stupid car hire. And you're welcome to use this, because I wasn't using my car very much, especially during the pandemic, because obviously we don't need to go and see people as much nowadays, work from home. Because of that, I put my car on this app called Turo, so you can hire my car out by the day. The reason I call it Dave's stupid car hire is because it taught me something really important, which I've overlooked till now, which is often people create a document, a step-by-step process for something, and think that's the end of the process, but actually that's just the start. So I have it set up so when you hire my car, you get a load of automated messages throughout the day until you go and pick it up. And what's here is so important. Every time someone asks a question, I go back, I look at what I've told them, and I try and figure out what I need to change, so that's a question I don't need to answer. Turo's like Airbnb for cars. Yeah, most of the time people hire my car, they take it, I never speak to them. They say, oh, Dave was really responsive, really helpful, really communicative. I didn't communicate with them once, but they thought I did because I nurtured relationship by every time going back. The reason this is important is because in your business, you may be thinking, oh, my team never seems to do things the same way. I was having a conversation about this morning, which is kind of why this is resonating with me. People never do things the same way. They don't follow my instructions. They just go off and do their own thing. There's a checklist, but they just ignore it. It's because it's not part of the process that they're using. There's no iterative loop. If you use something like a wiki, I mentioned before in SharePoint, you can do that, or in our documentation, Hoodoo that we use. It's really important. Every time you're going through that process, you go, oh, I didn't understand this, or this didn't work, or the customer had a problem with this, and change it. Because the documentation's not finished. It's not like you are McDonald's and there's a team of 500 people or 100 people, whatever, at the head office that are spending time doing this. And that's the process they're going through. They're going and watching what's happening and they're fixing stuff. But in a small business, everybody in the team needs to be doing that. They need to be going through and fixing stuff in the documentation, in the process, what you're sharing with your customers to make things really simple. And if you do it well, people think that you really care about them, where in fact what you're doing is you're freeing up your time to deal with those exceptions, those things that are more difficult to deal with, because you're not spending time on all the rubbish. My recommendation for you, as part of your documentation culture, get into the habit of every time there's a question that comes back, go and take a hard look at that process and fix the underlying issue. Maybe you just need to tweak a few words, maybe to add a sentence, maybe take a paragraph out. But you'll know, and by doing that on a daily, weekly basis, over time, you will eliminate 90% of the dross and the frustration in your life. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Speak soon.